Flying domestically in Indonesia itself can be more expensive than flying overseas, for example, Singapore or even Kuala Lumpur. So what happened actually? Imagine you're flying from Jakarta to Bali and also flying from Jakarta to Singapore. You'll find that flying to Singapore is cheaper than flying to Bali. And do know that flying to Singapore, right, you're subject to foreign taxes, which can be more expensive actually. But why is it cheaper to fly to Singapore? So I just a bit curious about why is it more expensive. So I decided to find out from the internet, and I found out that there are 4 reasons from the internet saying that why is it more expensive to fly domestically than flying overseas. After COVID-19, flight tickets become more expensive. Either it's for international flights or domestic flights. So none of us can run away. Not only for Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore. Indonesia is another level and people are not happy because flight probably is one of the few modes of transport to travel across Indonesia, because Indonesia is a very big country with a lot of islands at remote areas, islands, or even at mainland. That's why flight is the most effective way to commute from one place to another in Indonesia. If the flight is expensive, it will definitely affect the local or domestic mobility as well as the tourism. Alright, so let's just dive in to see what are the 4 reasons of why it's more expensive to travel domestically than flying to other countries like Singapore or KL. And I even have some friends, right, that told me they fly from Medan to Jakarta by flying to KL first, and from KL they fly to Jakarta. In fact, it's cheaper than flying from Medan directly to Jakarta. That's a bit sad because instead of promoting domestic tourism and travel, you are promoting Malaysia instead, because you're flying to KL, from KL you fly to Jakarta, which is actually cheaper, and at the same time you can stay in KL for a few days and enjoy before flying back to Jakarta. Okay, these are the 4 reasons that I found out from the internet. So the first thing is the fuel is expensive, especially for aviation fuel. So do know that in Indonesia, the aviation fuel, the jet fuel, are always been monopolized by a state-owned oil company like Pertamina, where they only control the supplies or oil supplies to the flight companies. So that's why you see it's more expensive, and this actually adds into the operation cost, which makes the flight to be more expensive. And definitely they will check out the price because of the more expensive fuel prices. And the second one will be the limited competitions from a few airline companies. For information, the largest one is actually Lion Air Group that controls Batik Air, Lion Air, and some other airlines. It's actually a low-cost airline, but the thing is that they are controlling more than 50%. You make flights be more expensive, or you are changing or adjusting the flight ticket based on seasons. The third reason could be because of limited aircraft. So for information, there are actually not enough aircraft in Indonesia to support the domestic mobility. Indonesia has more than 250 million people, and if a lot of people, just say 20 or 30% of people want to fly domestically, that's actually a huge amount of population. Yeah, how to actually accommodate this booming number of populations flying domestically across Indonesia? For example, flying from Medan all the way to Maluku or Makassar can be a long time. So how do you support those domestic flights and provide an affordable flight tickets? The fleet capacities and the airport capacity are actually not enough to support so many people and passengers. So this could be one of the main reasons that's why the flight can be more expensive. So imagine you're flying to some countries like KL to Almaty or Tashkent, because the flight route is not that many. That's why it's actually more expensive to fly there. It's not so frequent for us or the flight to fly over there. That's why it's more expensive. The last one could be tax, where it can be very high expensive for maintenance. For example, if you want to do aircraft maintenance, you have to import some spare parts from other countries. So if a tax is expensive, you actually affect the overall cost, which can be more expensive. Definitely the company, the operations will actually pass the additional cost to the consumers or the passengers, which are us that are going to buy the flight ticket. Because the reason is that the taxes imposed is actually higher for spare part import and also for other costs. That's why it's more expensive to buy flight tickets. So these are the 4 factors that causing domestic flights to be more expensive compared to other countries. The domestic airfare is in fact the second most expensive in the world after Brazil. So that's a bit shocking. Like, Indonesia is a big country where they have a huge local population to support local tourism. But why is it so expensive? I think the government had to do something to try to mitigate these issues and also trying to lower down the airfare tickets so that it promotes local tourism. So this could be the 4 reasons that causing Indonesian domestic flight to be more expensive compared to other countries. Right, so that's all for today, and thank you for watching. If you like content like this, so please don't forget to follow me so that I can make more content like this in the future. Bye bye.